Who's your emergency contact? Who should we notify in the case of death? Welcome to the USP, where I spent the last 2+ decades of my life. Right now, we're in Victorville. As I've told you in the early episodes, I was in Victorville from 2004 till about December of 2006. And I spent more than half of that time in the SHU, through different situations and stuff. So a lot of things that was happening in the yard, I only heard about it when people come off the yard into the SHU and we see each other at rec and they relate a story to me. Well, in this particular incident, I'm in the SHU. I've been in there maybe 3 months now. I forget why I was in there at this time, but I'm always into something. If I'm not into something, then they put me under investigation for whatever issues they got going on in the yard or whatnot. Well, at this time, I'm sitting in the SHU, and the lieutenant comes down to my cell, and he calls me to the door. And he's like, "Hey, man, what's going on with your homeboy?" I said, "What homeboy?" And my particular homeboy that he was talking about is Larry. Larry's a state prisoner from Hawaii, but he was hard to handle in Hawaii, so they contract him to the mainland, and they put him in Texas prison, in the state prisons. Well, while he was in his Texas state prison, he escaped. A nurse in the state prison helped him escape, and they got in a high-speed chase. He was heading for the border. Long story short, he ended up getting caught. I don't know how long he was on the run for, or if he got caught the same day or a week later, but when they caught him, they figured that the state couldn't handle him, so they contracted him into the feds. And I first met him in Lompoc, where he was in Lompoc over a TV incident in Lewisburg. He came to Lompoc because he had an incident over in either Lewisburg or Leavenworth. It's been so long, it's been over 20-something years. But he had changed the TV channel when a couple of homies was watching the TV. So Dana, one of the OGs from Hawaii, him and another guy went and stabbed Larry up. Like when I met Larry, he had potholes on his body from the incident. So he came to Lompoc, and a short time after that, Lompoc closed down. We all got transferred to Victorville, USP. So I'm in the SHU at this time, and the lieutenant comes to my door and calls me over to the door, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on with your homeboy?" And he mentions Larry's name. I'm like, "Man, they acting up out there." I'm like, "What the fuck that guy do with me?" "Well, don't you have influence over the Asian Islanders, this and this and that?" I said, "No, I don't have any influence over anybody. I have a hard enough time doing my own time. How the fuck I'm gonna go dictate somebody else how they do their time?" "Well, he crossed the line. Yeah, he fucked up. He really crossed the line this time." And I'm like, "Well, what the hell are you talking about?" "He assaulted one of our staff." So shit happens, Nobody's safe in prison. Don't matter if you're an inmate. Don't matter if you're at the bottom of the totem pole. Don't matter if you're a gang leader. Don't matter if you're a legend, a made man. And it don't matter if you're staff. That means I don't care if you're a CO, a CMS guy. CMS is like people that come in and they're one that oversees like the facilities where we have jobs and whatnot. Don't care if you're a lieutenant, and don't give a fuck if you're a warden. If you jump out there and disrespect somebody in there, and you catch him at the right time, especially if someone like my homeboy Larry that don't have anything to lose, you're gonna get what you're looking for. So over the course of the next few days, when people was coming back from the shoe and stuff, coming back from the yard into the shoe, I started getting the story bit by bit. You know, when we first went to Victorville, they had microwaves in Victorville. Maybe they still have it now or not, but in Florence, they took all the microwave away. In Beaumont, USP, they took all the microwaves away. And in Atwater, they were in the process of taking all the microwaves away. So, to my understanding, they removed all the microwaves away from the USP. I could be wrong, but. So they had another guy come in from the yard, and we was on the rut cage. You know, the rut cage isn't nothing but maybe 12 by 10 feet, you know. They take you out of your cell and your shackles and belly chain and put you in these cages, and they call it rec. All you're doing is pacing back and forth. You know, 12 feet this way, maybe, let's give them a little bit more room, maybe 15 feet, 15 by 12 or something, but it ain't no bigger than that. It's not rec. All you're doing is pacing back and forth. And like I said, if you got a couple people working out or whatever, then you're just riding the fence. But we all go to rec. Rec is almost mandatory for almost everybody in the shoe, especially if you're active, because they feel like if you're sitting in your cell, one, you're hard timing, and two, you're ducking rec. You know, no pun intended. So everybody wants to see everybody out there in Pike. That's the only time where we get news, where we can conversate and talk and chop it up. Because outside of that, we're stuck in our cell watching paint dry, you know. So as I'm getting the pieces back, and they're like, yeah, you know, when they first got there, when they put the microwaves in, they didn't have no security on it, meaning there wasn't no chain on it, no wire on it. Well, the guy comes back and goes, oh yeah, man, they put wires on the microwave because of your homeboy. I'm like, what the fuck that have anything to do with my homeboy? He goes, oh man, you didn't hear? Man, he fucked Miss Smith up. Miss Smith is a female cop. She was a little black lady. She was young. And being a female in a men's penitentiary, you're gonna get a lot of attention because we're surrounded by dudes. So any chance to talk to a female, you know, people, you've seen it, people that's been locked up, you see all these dudes, they're always jocking the female staff, you know. I guess they think they got so much game, they can pull themselves a guard or whatever. And it's happened. You know, that's why everybody feel like they might have a chance, because through the course of my incarceration, there's been a lot of incidents where they had female staffs and inmates, you know, fraternizing or whatnot, for lack of a better term. So, but these guys, they get to joking with her and playing with her and whatnot, and she got comfortable. But she being young, you know, because when Victorville opened up, they just recruited their staff from the surrounding area. So a lot of these staff don't really understand the penitentiary and the mentality of the penitentiary. So when she got dudes always talking to her, you know, hyping her up, blowing her up, she started feeling herself and thinks she could be playing with everybody, because she's always used to, because she got accustomed to goofing around and playing with these inmates and stuff, you know. So one day, my homeboy Larry was coming through the metal detector. So when he's coming through, she hits the metal detector and sets off the alarm. And he's like, what the fuck? And she goes, hey, clear that. So he goes back through the metal detector and clears it. As he's walking through, again, she hits the metal detector again. And this time he caught her. He caught her hitting the metal detector, setting off the alarm. So he turned around and he said, hey, don't play with me, bro. I'm not one of these guys. I don't play. You know, I don't play with this shit. And she just ha and laughed it off or whatever. And he tried to move, and he tried to go about his business, but she was like, hey, you got to clear the metal detector. He's like, man, I cleared it. You're the one that fucking set off the alarm. But she's like, no, you got to clear the metal detector. So he backs around, goes through the metal detector again. And again, she taps the metal detector and sets off the alarm. So he went up to her. He said, hey, I'm telling you, I'm warning you right now. Don't play with me. She's like, all right, go clear the metal detector. You got to go clear the metal detector. You know? Like, I didn't hear it directly from him, so I don't know the exact interaction between him and that staff. So he goes back again because she insists that he clear the metal detector. So as he's walking through the metal detector, she taps it again and sets off the alarm again. Now, my homeboy Larry, when you see him, you can tell he's crazy. And he's a big old fucker. He's 6'3", 6'4", but he's an old timer. He's already been down 20-something years, never, ever going home. You know, maybe he'll get lucky if they change some laws or whatever and let him out. But yeah, he's never going home. He's got all day. He's not even a federal prisoner. He's a state prisoner. And the Hawaii state penitentiary system, penal system, contract him to the main line. So that just gives you an idea of the caliber of individual that he is. They felt they couldn't be able to contain him and handle him over there in Hawaii. So they sent him to the state. And in the state system, they felt that they couldn't do anything with him. So they contract him to the feds. Because when you hear people escaping from prison or doing whatever, it's mostly in the state. Now, there's been a few incidents where people escape from the federal prison, but it's hard to get over that wall. It's hard to get through the barbed wire fence, 4 rows of barbed wire fence and rows in between them barbed wire fence. And you got the gun tower surrounding the wall. So even though escapes happen here and there, I've only heard maybe about 3 incidents in my 20-year that anyone's ever escaped from a federal prison. So that's how he ended up in the federal prison. So when he walked through the metal detector this last time, Miss Smith again tapped the metal detector. Now, like I said, when you look at the homie, you know he's crazy. He just looks burnt out. So why would you want to play with an individual like that? And he warned you, don't play with me. So after she hit the metal detector and set it off again, they say he walked up to her and knocked her out. I mean, she was just a little itty bitty thing. But little itty bitty thing, big old thing, short, wide, small, what, it doesn't matter. It's about respect. And you get accustomed to playing with individuals, you got to understand that everything is not for everybody. You know, there's plenty of dudes in there that's willing to play with her, willing to give her the time and day and have a conversation. But there's other individuals that want to be left the fuck alone. They don't talk to staff. They don't engage them. They mind their freaking business. They're respectful to a certain extent. So he went and knocked her out. And I don't know if he stomped on her head, but she's at the metal detector. After he knocks her out, he walks back into the unit, picks up the microwave, takes it through the door to a metal detector, and drops the microwave on her head. You know, the penitentiary ain't safe for anybody, man. I don't care who you are. Like I said, you can be a do-boy, you can be at the bottom of the totem pole, or you can be the guy. You can be the man. You can be the shot caller. And again, you can be the staff. No one gives a fuck. If you push somebody's button long enough, you're gonna get what you're looking for. So he dropped the microwave on her head. That's why they took all the microwave away for a couple weeks, but when they brought the microwave back, they wired, they weld a thick ass wire onto the microwave so you can't move it off the table anymore. They didn't keep him in Victorville. They put him in at the FCI holding because, when you have an incident with a staff, they remove you from the prison because they don't want the other staff members trying to come in and get some get back or whatever or whatnot on you. But like the COs in Victorville, when we first opened up, the inmates had them spooked because we're all just came from an environment that was chaos. That shit was just popping off every day. And most of the people in the penitentiary, it's got at least minimum of 10 years. If you see people that's got less than 10 years, that's because they already been down 20. You don't go to the penitentiary when you got just a little bit amount of time or when your crime is mediocre or non-violent. The penitentiary is reserved for violent individual, for influential individual, and for nutcases. And my homeboy Larry is a nutcase. So let's fast forward to 10 years later. He spent 10 years in ADX before he ever came back. This was in 2005. I ran back into him around 2014. So he spent about 8-9 years in ADX. And he was telling the homie, Bryson, when he came, he goes, when they took him to ADX, they 4-pointed him. 4-point is a flat bed, concrete or metal with 4 slot where they can handcuff your hand and your leg and strap you to the bed. They said they had him 4-pointed there for months. And every day they came in and beat his ass. Like they would put padding on the nightstick or whatever they were using to hit him with so that it wouldn't break his bone or leave noticeable bruises. But they whooped that motherfucker. They whooped him and whooped him for months. Not a couple days, not a couple weeks. They whooped his ass for months for assaulting that staff. And he was telling the homie Bryson, oh, bro, I was crying, bro. I cried, I begged, bro. I begged. Oh, if they told me to tell my mom, I would have told my mom, bro. They was beating my ass so bad. They're going to get theirs too. You have the staff in the penitentiary, like some of them, they start forming a clique and feel like they're a gang too to combat the gang that's on the yard. But the difference is these cowards are not going to do anything to you until you're shackled or cuffed up. Because when you run up on them straight up, oh, I was just doing my job. But once you're shackled and handcuffed, then all of a sudden they all got heart. When you're 4-pointed, restrained, helpless, defenseless, then they all got heart. When they come and get you in your cell, they're not popping that door. You tell them come in that door, homie. They're not coming in that door. Nah, they're gonna go call their lieutenant. They're gonna call their little crew. They're gonna go dress up in their turtle suit, and they're gonna come with cans of fucking mace and spray your ass down first. Then if that doesn't subdue you, they're gonna shoot you with bean bags. And if that doesn't subdue you, they're gonna shoot a cushion grenade in there. Imagine a cushion grenade in a confinement of an 8x12 cell. When we hear cushion grenades on the yard, it fucks our ear up. So when they shoot a cushion grenade in a cell like that, I can't even, your ears ring, You're discombobulated, you can't see nothing, you can't comprehend nothing, and then the door pops, and here they come rushing in with a shield to beat your ass, you know? I've been extracted from my cell plenty of time. But that's what it is, man. Like, in the penitentiary, nobody's safe. Like I said, it don't matter who you are. You keep poking the bear, you're gonna get it. And some people in there learn the hard way. You know. Welcome to the USP. Thank you for joining in. Please subscribe. If you guys enjoy these episodes, I appreciate your support. And thank you for all the ones that's been commenting on my YouTube station channel and supporting me. Man, nothing but love and respect to all the viewers out there. We're going to stay in Victorville. See you guys next time.